The head of Instagram testified before a Senate panel Wednesday on the platform's impact on kids and teens. CEO Adam Mosseri says that the company is taking measures to keep young users safe from potential harm, but some lawmakers argue those efforts don't go far enough. CBS News congressional correspondent Chris Van Cleave has the latest from Capitol Hill.
Now I recognize that many in this room have deep reservations about our company.
In the Senate hot seat, Instagram head Adam Mosseri pushed back on claims the app can be toxic for teens.
Instagram is addictive.
Respectfully, I don't believe the research suggests that our products are addictive.
Mosseri's first appearance on Capitol Hill follows leaked internal documents showing the app proved harmful to young girls, increasing anxieties about body image and encouraging some teens to even contemplate suicide. He told senators Instagram supports an industry-wide body to determine best practices for safety issues, like verifying age, building age-appropriate experiences, and effective parental controls.
I think we have to reach the point where we realize some real bad stuff is happening. And you're the new tobacco, whether you like it or not, and you've got to stop selling the tobacco.
15-year-old Mason Bogard died after apparently attempting a choking challenge he saw online. His mother, Joanne.
I think now's the time for Congress to pass the legislation so that we can hold big tech accountable for these things that they're letting slide through. They're harming our kids.
Ahead of the hearing, Instagram announced new safety tools that will encourage teens to take a break after prolonged use and will soon roll out its first set of parental controls. The senators were not impressed.
For me, this is a case of too little, too late.
3 hours a day. Is that a good use of kids' time?
I'm a parent. I ultimately think that a parent knows best what's best for their teen, so the appropriate amount of time should be a decision by a parent about the specific teen.
And Chris Van Cleave joins me now from Capitol Hill with more. Chris, aside from the new safety features unveiled on Tuesday, what more is Instagram doing to safeguard the well-being of its users, particularly the younger people?
Well, the senators would say Instagram's not doing enough. We heard from the head of Instagram, Adam Mosseri, that they use research to identify problems so that they can basically code them out. That they use AI to spot things. One of the things that's supposed to happen with Instagram is that when somebody 15 or younger sets up an account, it defaults to private. However, the senators found when they did that very thing that those accounts ended up public. Mosseri acknowledged that when you do that on your phones, it defaults to private, but here it didn't happen when you were doing it from a desktop. Admittedly, most people don't join Instagram from a desktop, but it was an example of where the intended safety features weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing, and that raised some concern for senators.
Earlier this year, Instagram had proposed a version of its app made specifically for kids under 13. You know, hearing your reporting, Chris, and how much Mosseri pushed back on senators and the storyline that Instagram is addictive, that parents need to be more involved, I'm wondering if that project is in fact just paused because it really seemed like that he's still interested in trying to engage more young users. What's the latest that you can tell us?
He was asked about Instagram Kids a lot, and at least a couple of senators asked if Instagram would shelve the project permanently, not just suspend it, but get rid of it. And Mosseri did not seem willing to do that. He says because, in part, Instagram Kids was envisioned as the best solution to a situation as to what to do about 10, 11, 12-year-olds, kids who already often have a smartphone, who want to be engaging on the same platforms and online. That creating sort of a sheltered Instagram for them that would have robust parental controls would address that need so that they didn't try to sort of sneak on to the platform, because one of their big challenges is age verification for people who may not have identification that they can use to verify age. So he sees Instagram Kids under the right circumstances as the best solution to what to do about the 10 to 12-year-olds who want to be engaging on social media.
It seems from what I saw in the hearing and in your reporting that there was just a philosophical difference between Meadows and, in particular, Senators Richard Blumenthal and Marsha Blackburn. And as you are well aware, Chris, that they're currently drafting legislation aimed at online privacy protections for kids and teens. Tell us all how these hearings with Instagram in this case, but others in big tech, really shaping their legislation.
Sure, and there are actually several senators that are working on legislation in addition to the Blumenthal and Blackburn bill that they hope to be able to release soon. They tell us they're in the drafting process. I think the senators would say that this series of hearings they've had now has helped educate and enlighten the needs, the situation, so that they can better understand where the needs are. Also, they have tried to enlist support and backing from the industry on certain reforms. But one of the challenges to getting your head around social media is, so much of it happens in a way that we can't see. We open up Instagram and we get a feed of photos, but there's a secret sauce behind all of that decides which images users see. And one of the things that the senators have been grappling with is how that works and how some of that, in some cases, you could argue, has almost been weaponized to provoke engagement and response. In fact, Instagram acknowledged that they are working on a chronological feed option, which would basically take things back to the way Instagram was years ago, when you'll just see things in the order they're posted. So when you're Senators Blackburn and Blumenthal, these hearings have helped illustrate to them where the problems are and where regulation may be needed, be that around protecting children and teens, particularly when it comes to their privacy and their ability to delete their social footprint, as well as this idea of some kind of transparency around those algorithms.
Chris, let's shift gears and turn to the looming debt ceiling deadline. House lawmakers passed a procedural bill Tuesday that will allow the Senate to raise the debt ceiling by a simple majority vote, maybe taking away a little bit of the drama that we face all the time, it seems, on Capitol Hill. Tell us a bit more about this plan and when you expect the Senate's going to take up the measure.
The Senate tends to be kind of like your dramatic friend, where there's always a deadline. And that is kind of the way that they work best. Here, the drama will likely be tomorrow, when the Senate has to make a procedural vote. They need 60 votes to move forward on basically the rule change that will allow them to, in a separate bill, raise the debt ceiling. It's complicated and it's wonky, but provided they get the 60 votes tomorrow, this is a straight majority vote. Democrats will raise the debt ceiling. Crisis averted. It looks like Mitch McConnell has lined up 10 Republicans at least to vote yes to proceed with this process change that then sets up the second phase of the debt ceiling raise. It probably gets done, and it probably gets all done early next week ahead of that December 15th deadline, with minimal drama until there's drama. But right now it's looking like this will go forward.
Minimal drama until some other drama intervenes. Hey, Chris, actually, speaking of which, before I let you go, we learned that former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows is now suing the January 6th committee and Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Can you tell us anything more about that?
Sure. So Mark Meadows was cooperating with the January 6th committee, handed over some documents, was going to come to a deposition, then decided he was no longer cooperating. He did not show up to his deposition today and instead sued the January 6th committee and Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House. Basically, it reads like an attempt to get out in front of what will be a likely contempt of Congress referral that's going to happen here in the coming days. He's basically arguing that he shouldn't be, under the subpoena, shouldn't be in the position of having to give this deposition, given the former president claiming executive privilege and Mr. Meadows being his chief of staff. Of course, some of the things that Meadows turned over to the committee already were from his personal devices, which might not have been covered by executive privilege anyway. So, members of the January 6th committee are calling this yet another stall tactic, but certainly it is. There's no shortage of drama around this issue, and it will likely lead to Mark Meadows, a former member of the House, facing a contempt of Congress charge in the chamber he used to serve.
Who needs reality TV when you have Chris Van Cleve in Washington? Thanks, Chris.
Sure thing.